Here's our green room where our guests hang out with our co-hosts before the show. Total Ballman is there, and the Backstreet Boys are there. Now stop it, ladies. Stop it. All right, all right. In the midst of it all is a performer who can do it all, including sing, dance, and act in every medium, and that's Tim Curry. But he'll probably always be remembered for playing the sweet transvestite from Transylvania, Dr. Frankenfurter, in the Rocky Horror Picture Show. However, he's long since hung up his garter belt, and now he's taking a stab at a new sitcom. In Over the Top, Tim plays an unemployed actor who's the former husband of actress Annie Potts. Take a look.
So how does it feel to sell your soul to the devil for a primetime series?
I don't know. I didn't do it.
You didn't do it, then what do you feel so awful about?
But I didn't do it. What are you talking about?
Please welcome a real favorite of mine, Tim Curry.
Can I give you a big kiss?
So you were listening at the top of the show, I hope, if you could hear, in between those screams.
Absolutely.
Did you hear about the plastic surgeon then in Hollywood? What's your take on that?
Well, you know, I think there's nothing
At
more
your hometown.
important to our confidence in the medical profession than the Hippocratic Oath. And to feel that you are not being respected by somebody who, I guess in this case, you're paying many thousands of dollars to make you look better, I think you at least deserve the respect of a proper medical person, and not to be... I mean, because you're so completely vulnerable when you're in surgery anyway, and you're under anesthesia. I think it's appalling.
Absolutely, and that's a real vulnerable thing when you're talking about plastic surgery and correcting, you know, image and all of that to begin with.
Well, I think it must be a very scary thing to do anyway. I mean, of course, you know, I guess they didn't know it was happening because they were happily anesthetized. But as a principle, I think it's just appalling.
You know, okay, I want to move on from there, actually, too. It's a quote that I read of yours a long time ago that it really struck a chord with me. You said that being British in Hollywood means that you're usually stuck playing a butler or a villain, but that's okay with you. A lot of people cast you as the villain.
Well, it's sort of become okay. I mean, Eric Idle and I actually always have this greeting when we meet each other. We shake hands and say butlers and villains, because it's pretty much, you know, what happens to you here. And I think it happens to a lot of European actors. Particularly if you've never really established yourself as a sort of leading man or whatever. The fact is, though, that the bad guys are always much better written than the good guys, and they're kind of irresistible to play because they're so much more fun.
Why do you think you make a good villain?
Well, I think one of the reasons that they come to English actors is that usually by the time we get to America, we've done a great deal in England. We've probably, you know, worked a lot on the stage, and I think that they probably feel that we bring some kind of style to the job that we might not necessarily have acquired in the States.
Yeah, but you know what I think it is about you? I've thought about this because I'm a big fan. I think it's that you're very seductive. And you know, I thought if you were the devil, I would pay to go to hell. I really would, because you have that quality.
That is going on my resume, I tell you.
But it's true. You have this you must know that. That's true.
Well, I think it's terribly important when you're playing bad guys to make them... I mean, I think you have to be the guy they love to hate, you know? And the fact is that, you know, all of us would like to behave badly. All of us would like to behave, you know, in an underhanded way, perhaps. All of us would like to have the kind of power that bad guys have. And I think, you know, it's important to show that it's fun.
Now, one of the most lovable bad guys that you ever played was Frankenfurter,
yeah,
obviously, and yet, in a way, it backfired on you in the sense that you've never quite been able to get beyond the role. You once said that you, in reaction to becoming that kind of an icon, you became plain and chubby, to use your words.
It's true, actually. I mean, well...
You really set out to...
I think that, I mean, I don't think anyone, you know, tries to get plain and chubby deliberately. But,
it's worked for me.
But I think that, you know, I was sort of fairly astonished when I came to the States, and particularly when that whole thing started, because when I first came to America, I came with the play of the Rocky Horror Show, and so I went from some tiny little studio apartment, you know, and grubbing around the streets of London, to sitting at Jack Nicholson's pool, you know, because it was a huge hit in L.A. And I looked around and I saw all these people dealing with fame, and it was a big shock to me. I mean, I went out and got every biography I could find to try and figure out how people dealt with this. And one of the things that I think happens in the States, which perhaps happens less in Europe, is that quite often Hollywood actors find something that they're good at, put a great big sort of bow on it, and do it really for the rest of their lives. And because there's such a huge market to cover and so many media outlets, and even more since I started, that it's very easy to get stuck with whatever the first image of you was, nationwide or even worldwide, which Frankenfurter very much was for me. And also, beyond that, I think that America is much more easily shocked by that kind of image than perhaps Europe
yeah, man
is.
and girls underwear with garters is shocking no matter what.
I figure
that's going to do it.
As long as you make it look good.
Oh, you did. But you're not real comfortable with fame. I understand your idea of a fun night is reading books and sitting with Frank, your dog, or puttering around your garden, essentially.
Pretty much, yes. I mean, I've been dealing with it for quite a long time, and I've always been pretty slow to kind of promote myself. I've managed to kind of work pretty steadily without having to, I don't know, throw myself at the public and say, yeah, here I am, you know?
We were just looking at the beautiful pictures of your garden, and I'm thinking of, I read where your dad passed away when you were a young boy, and one of your last memories was of him creating a garden from start to end before he died.
Yeah.
Did that influence you getting into gardening, do you think?
I think very much. My father died when I was 12, and it was a huge turning point in my life, because I think, if you're that young and a parent dies, you're suddenly 2 years older than all the other kids. I mean, you just know something about life that other kids don't. And I think, it really is a very, very strong image of him. He was away an awful lot. He was in the Navy. He was a Methodist minister, actually. He was a naval chaplain. So I didn't see an enormous amount of him as a child, because he was away, on ships a lot. And because it is a sort of final image of him, I think it's always been at the back of my mind. I think also that, if you're English, somewhere around 30, a trowel appears in your hand, kind of like a prosthetic device, it just seems to be a kind of English thing.
Thank you so much, Tim. You're going to join us for Question of the Day, right?
Yes, please.
Terrific. We'll be right back with more of Tim Curry.
Thank you.
I'm here with Tim Curry, the star of the new ABC series, Over the Top. Now, what most people don't know about you, I should say many people don't know about you, is that you're the voice of a lot of animated characters. And the newest one, let me do a shameless plug here, is Disney's new home video, Beauty and the Beast, The Enchanted Christmas. Right.
Yeah, I've done an awful lot of them. When I first moved to, just before I moved to LA, I was on tour all over the States with a musical called Me and My Girl. And while I was in LA at the Pantages Theatre, Hanna-Barbera asked me to come and do the voice of the snake. They were doing Bible stories, and I was the snake in Adam and Eve. Snake.
Oh. Very good. So well.
It was a lot of fun. And I said, gee, I'm moving here at the end of the tour. I'd love to do some more. So Gordon Hunt, who was the voice director at Hanna-Barbera, and is Helen Hunt's father, just used to call me in whenever they were casting anything, and I'd have a bash at all of these, voices, and I just started doing them till they were just coming out of my ears.
What was your favorite one?
I think my favorite one was Duckman. I don't know whether you ever saw that.
Duckman,
It was a prime-time series, and I played King Chicken, who was a...
King Chicken, that was you?
That was me.
I'm so impressed.
And it's wonderful, because every time he showed up, he was always in disguise as somebody else. One time he was a Borscht Belt comic called Morty Landesman. You gotta laugh.
This rich British voice, and then all of a sudden it turns into Morty,
Brooklyn.
whatever the heck his name is.
Morty Landesman. Laughs are my game. And I'm doing a new one for Klasky Supo, which is called The Thornberrys, which is coming out next year, where I'm playing an intrepid English explorer who has a kind of exploration Discovery Channel kind of show. And he's really dumb. And I've done them on Mighty Ducks and all kinds, Our Real Monsters and all kinds of stuff. I'm a versatile
actor. I'm loving it. So I guess we should do the question of the day, especially today. This one is special
because it was sent in by a woman named Shirley Byard of Trenton, New Jersey, who watches it on WABC, and especially because that's my mother.
It's your mom.
She is now programming the show and calling me every day, and this is her question.
Okay.
What was the most embarrassing thing your parents ever did to you?
Look at that. Send her a question like that.
Well, in 1981, I think it was, I was doing The Pirates of Penzance at Drury Lane in London on stage. And the Queen Mother came for her birthday treat. She came with Frederick Ashton, who was a choreographer, and a bunch of friends. And she had a tiara and the whole bit, and she'd, you know, wave from the box. You know that her wave is light bulb?
Right.
So good.
Screw in the light bulb, display the pearls.
Yes.
Screw in the
It's
light bulb, display the pearls.
Light bulb. And it was sort of cool because in the intermission the audience all stood up and sung Happy Birthday. And at the end of the show she came backstage to be presented to the cast, and we were all kind of lined up. And she said, "So glad, so very glad." Really, she's actually a lot of fun. And she'd been throwing back gin backstage. You know, she'd had a wonderful time. She said, "I had such a good time." And anyway, I had to. My mother, who loved this show because it's one of the few things that I've ever done which was PG rated, used to come all the time, and it was a big hit. She insisted on coming that night because she heard the Queen Mother was coming. And I had to stagger on. She'd come backstage, and I had to stagger on with this huge birthday cake. And I was coming on with this great big birthday cake, and all I can see is my mother in the wings going, "Yeah." I dropped the cake.
You did drop the cake.
No.
What did
Well,
the
we
Queen
sort of-
Mother say?
Oh,
She
my
continued to wave.
I think she was kind of thrilled because, you know, she's not short of calories. So we picked it up and we tried to kind of put it together. And you could see her thinking, "Oh, not another cake." We put it back onto the table, and then I couldn't find anything to cut it with. There was a sort of cake slice. It was one of those triangular
I'll
things.
just break
The
it off.
tiara.
So in the end, I just used my sword from the stage.
Okay.
That's
Before you
great.
put some more icing on that one, we like that one. We'll let Meredith do hers.
Well, I'm sure mine wasn't intentional, because my mom watches, so I'm not trying to hurt her feelings. But when my first tea dance, right, I went to an all-girls school, so the first tea dance where I was going to be with other boys, I had a dress that was like down to here. And I got to my friend's house, and I was so embarrassed that her mother actually took it up for me. And then later called my mother and said she'd done it, but I was so mortified because she always made me look. It's not funny. I'm still dealing with it in therapy. But anyway.
I'll soon be in therapy because of mine. Mine was intentional. Oh, this is the first time I'm telling this story. I'm so embarrassed still. My father followed me on a date one time. When I was 16 years old, there I was in the movie theater with this guy. And across a crowded concession stand, as the smoke cleared, I saw Nick Matanopoulos. I was so mortified. All the blood rushed to my head, and I said, "Get the popcorn, let's go in the movie, let's go in the movie." And to this day, that guy still never knew why I was so upset, because I was too embarrassed to tell him. Now you know.
Well, I'll tell it quickly. My father was one of these World War II people, you know, and he was very tough. I mean, he was a teamster. He used to pull out his own teeth. He was his own dentist. And very, very tough. So I'd be on my stoop in Brooklyn talking to, you know, Vinny and Ronnie and Frankie, and we'd be like, ha, 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 ha. And he'd come and say, "Get upstairs. Get upstairs." And they would run like as if, you know, like John Gotti was there, you know. And then I'd say, "Oh, you have to carry on like this." And then he'd walk up the stairs like a gorilla and make a big joke about it. So that was basically it.
It's just embarrassing.
Yeah,
is what it is.
Yeah, my dad, your
Well, my mother definitely knew why she gave me this question. I was in the 4th grade. A teacher, I won't say her name, grabbed me on the arm because I was talking too much. No, I was talking too much. And I hung up my blouse at home, and there was a hole in my blouse because she'd grabbed me that hard, and then a bruise on my arm.
Oh.
And my mother went to school the next day in front of the students and said, "If you ever touch my kid like that again, I will knock you into tomorrow." From that point on, everybody in school said, "You don't want to mess with Star because her mama is crazy." Thank you, Tim, for everything. Best wishes on the show. It's Tuesday tonight, actually.
It's on tonight.
8:30 p.m. Eastern, right here on ABC. You guys better be watching it. We will. We'll be right back.
Thank you very much.